Hey, what's up everyone? In this video, we'll be talking about inheritance in Java. So inheritance is a concept in object-oriented programming in where one class can pass down properties to another class, okay? So these properties include things like methods and fields. Now, the class that's passing the properties over is usually called either the parent class or the superclass. And the class that is receiving or inheriting these properties is called either the child class or the subclass. Okay. Now, one thing I want to highlight is that a child class cannot inherit properties from multiple parent classes. However, a parent class can pass down properties to multiple child classes. So let's go ahead and see what all of this looks like in code. So here I have my main method. You'll notice that I am creating an object of the animal type, okay? And I have this animal object now, and I am calling the introduce method on it, all right? Now let's go ahead and take a look at what this animal class looks like. So this right here is the animal class. You'll see that it is very basic. It only has two things. It has this field here called origin, which is of type string, and it holds the string nature, all right? And then down here we have a method called introduce, and it simply prints out the string I am an animal onto the console window, okay? Pretty straightforward. Now if we go back to the main method, you'll see that we're calling the introduce method, so it should print this out to the console window. So let's go ahead and see if that is the case. And sure enough, that is the case, okay? So it is printing out I am an animal to the console window, all right? So everything's starting to make sense, hopefully. Now this is where things get a little interesting. Now I have another class called dog, okay? So I'm going to create a dog object, okay? Just like this. And here I'm going to use the dog object. Now the question is, what can I call on it? Well, let's take a look at the dog class. So you'll see that the dog class is pretty much empty. There's nothing in it. There's no fields and there are no methods, right? However, we do see this keyword up here that says extends and then it says animal, okay? And what this is doing is that the dog class is inheriting the properties from animal, okay? So that includes the fields and the methods. So by this logic, if we go back to our main method, okay, so we have our dog object here, and if we press dot, we should be able to call the introduce method on it, right? The introduce method is defined inside of the animal class, okay? So if we go ahead and run this, it should print out the string I am an animal twice. Let's see if that's the case. So we go ahead and run it, and sure enough, that is the case. So as you can see, the dog class is inheriting the method introduce from animal, okay? Now remember what I said, you can inherit methods, but also fields. So let's see if that is the case. So if we type in dog and then dot, we do see the field origin, okay? If we go back to the animal class, you'll see here, it's origin, okay? So we are able to access it. Now the reason I'm getting a red squiggle line here is because we're not doing anything with this data right now. So if we want to see it on the console window, we need to do system.out.println and have that data inside of the parentheses, okay? So if we go ahead and run it, you'll see that, of course, we get these two strings from earlier, okay, because we haven't deleted or changed any of that. And then down here, we do get the value of nature for the origin field, okay? So again, you can inherit methods and fields from a parent class. so long as they are public. You'll see that this method here is public, and this one here doesn't say anything, but if it doesn't say anything, the default is public, all right? But if this was private, okay, so if the origin field was private, we would not be able to inherit, or we will not be able to access that field, okay, because it's private, all right? So this whole public, private, protected stuff, that is called access modifiers, and I'll create a separate video on that. But just know that by default, when you use extends, okay, when you want to inherit from a parent class, it inherits both the methods and the fields so long as they are public. All right. And so you might be thinking, well, what is all of this for? Like, couldn't I just copy and paste everything here onto dog and then I could just have the same thing, right? However, we need to look at this from a software development and design point of view. The reason we use things like inheritance is for code reusability. Okay. The one thing, if you talk to any senior developer or any senior programmer, they'll tell you to always use or always reuse code. Okay. Now, it might not be as important today as it was maybe 20 or 30 years ago, where memory was very limited, but it does make a difference in terms of design, okay? And maybe even performance depending on the type of application that you're working on, okay? So remember, the reason we use inheritance is for code reusability. All right, so that is all for this video. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Thanks.